Welcome to the CEN show, the voice of the world community. The Community Education Network is a community of educators from a variety of backgrounds. We gather weekly on two podcasts, Conscious Corner on Mondays with Professor Amin Ra and historian Joe Hambrick, and this show with Rasaki Maskani, that's me, on Wednesdays. These podcasts are open to the public. Let me show you the website. So here's the homepage of the communityeducationnetwork.com. And tonight, as you can see, we have Ms. J. Dub, The Power of Yoga and Meditation. And there's an extended title for that. She will get into it once I introduce her. Then on March 7th, we have Conscious Corner. And you can access the shows, their Zoom meetings right here, right underneath each program. All right. And let me give the ability to Ms. J. Dub to share her screen when we're ready. Okay, tonight's guest is Ms. J. Dub. The topic is yoga and meditation, which we already mentioned. Ms. J. Dub is our latest team member to join our website, and I'm looking forward to many excellent collaborations with her. Here's Brother Mashinda. Good evening, Ms. J. Dub. Welcome to the CEM team. We are really glad to have you. How are you? Would you like to share some things about yourself? And please start your presentation.
Yes, thank you for having me. I truly appreciate being a part of a community of critical thinking and consciousness. I am by no means any expert in yoga or meditation. I am a practitioner and I can only speak for my practice, but yeah, I would love to just share about how I got into yoga and meditation, and then give a little presentation on breathing that I prepared. Also, hello, Mashinda. Just wanted to say hi. But yeah, so I started yoga actually my first year of teaching. I was always very attracted to sports or movement work that required some sort of flow activity. So I enjoyed gymnastics. I enjoyed soccer growing up, and basically anything where my body was introduced to just technique and rhythm. And I liked dancing growing up as well. But yeah, I guess I didn't really do much of that in college. I just studied, and then I went to grad school to become an educator, and then I became an educator. And, in between there, I would just hit the gym once in a while, maybe do some cardio, anything that required just ongoing movement. And then my first year of teaching hit, and I taught middle school, and I was not prepared for that. I was 24, looked like I was probably 20. So I looked very young. The kids thought I was actually just graduated from high school or something. They thought I was very, very young. So being thrown into the classroom my first year, as well as having adult responsibilities for my first time, was very stressful. And I think mid-20s is also a time where my brain was just being introduced to retrospect and looking at my past and trauma in a different way. And so I decided to go to therapy. I was like having a lot of hard moments with myself. And I needed something to actively like calm down my mind. And so I decided to do yoga. And I went to various studios and I really never found one that I liked. And they were also very expensive. So I would try to find studios that had community classes, which is donation based. And, I would do those and I loved them. And it was such a great way to like release my steam. And then I wanted to learn more. By nature, I'm a learner. So I ended up doing some teaching trainings. And that's when I was connected to the cultural, religious narratives and or even just like foundations of yoga, and began to appreciate that in a different way. Even though I don't practice Hinduism or even a lot of the practices of yoga, the spiritual practices of yoga, I still really appreciate what the physical practice offered. And yeah, to this day, I still use a lot of the technique in yoga to just open my body and open my mind. It's a powerful way to connect, especially because there's routine and repetition, and that overlaps into my like cultural upbringing. As someone who's East Asian and grew up in a household that was highly influenced by like Confucianism and Taoism, it's there's a lot of like repetition involved, and the cycle of repetition leads to like just various experiences of tension, of learning, and of also harmony and enlightenment and balance. And so yeah, that's how I got into yoga, and it was out of stress. And then I actually got deeper into it, got some exposure to the roots of the practice, and then was reintroduced to my own philosophies that I grew up in, and began in that journey to focus more on breath work than yoga. And so even though I do stretch a lot, I actually don't really practice yoga as much. I'll do a few stretches and sun salutations, but I yoga also introduced me to the power of breath work, and actually is one of the central components of the practice is breathing. And so that's where I found that passion to know more. And so I prepared a little slide. Again, I'm not an expert, but I've done some reading, and here we go. And I thought this was like a really great way to be a thought questioner, a thought question. We tend to hang out with people who breathe like we do. Have you ever noticed how how busy people like to be around other busy people who affirm their values of busyness? Noticing people in a room and their breathing will bring much knowledge of our own breathing patterns. Surrounding ourselves with like-minded breathers can change our own breathing. The breath is contagious. And I wanted to open up with that because I think sometimes the idea of breathing can feel so detached when someone's like, focus on your breath, or breathing is powerful. It's like, what does that even mean? It's so conceptual. But I was reading a book, and this brought things into perspective, that breathing is very near to us, and it's actually something that everybody does. and it's a pattern that connects us to ourselves, but also to other people. And so the next time like you're with your friends, just like noticing how everyone is breathing, or whatever task you're doing, or if you're just on one-on-one with someone, it's super interesting to see how we gravitate towards like-minded breathers, or how if someone is anxious and breathing very quickly, that might influence our patterns of breath as well. And so that was just like my little opener to something to think about. And then today I'll just be going over really short concepts of decolonizing the breath, the physiological benefits of breathing, just my take on the spiritual background, and then 2 types of breathing. Okay, so I had read this quote and was very inspired by it because it was a critical take on breathing, and breathing as an act of decolonizing. And so I'll just read this. Frantz Fanon, the notable anti-colonial scholar, famously linked the effects of colonization to breathing patterns of the colonized. And the quote reads, "There is not occupation of territory, on the other hand, and independence of persons on the other. It is the country as a whole, its history, its daily pulsations that are contested, disfigured. Under these conditions, the individual's breathing is an observed and occupied breathing. It is a combat breathing." By Fanon, who was a part of the, I believe, the Algerian rebellion against France. And this was from an indigenous pedagogy of decolonization. And I wanted to bring in this before we go into the other benefits, because just putting it out there that this is one way to think about breathing as an act of liberation, especially in times where, well, I guess it's not new that we live in a very oppressive system that has a history of racism, oppression, and marginalization against non-white Europeans. And reading this brought just, I guess, a larger purpose of every breath is to be symbolic of the combat that we face in our liberation work. And so there's not much literature on this, but I do believe that it is like a very indigenous and sacred practice that not only brings wealth and health to our body, but also wealth and health to our communities. So yeah, and you could chime in, or I have a set of questions that we could go through later too. But if you want to, and I can always go back to the slides once I'm done for us to debrief. So there's a book by Herbert Benson called Relaxation Revolution. And to add on to that, there is actual physical benefits of breathing. Again, I'm not very well versed in the literature here, but I know that there's a lot of mainstream research out there. You could even like Google it and you'll see WebMD say breathing helps stress. It's pretty a familiar term now, whereas maybe not so much before. But it does particularly alter your stress response. And I thought this was really interesting, a more like niche, like finding that Herbert Benson had found. And it says it does away with the whole the mind body separation. Here you can use the mind to change the body and the genes, we're changing. We are, and the genes we are changing were the very genes acting in opposite fashion when people are under stress. So not only does breathing have these like benefits of the body, it also does this like reverse unlearning of patterns that we have developed, perhaps due to coping mechanisms, to combat stress. And maybe like one example is like clenching your teeth when you're stressed out can cause like TMJ, or even things like craving high sodium foods, high blood pressure, even like depression. There's a lot of negative stress responses that our mind has ingrained as coping mechanisms, and breathing helps the mind separate itself from the body. And once that separation is made, your mind, you could reprogram your mind to have new mindsets. And breathing is the gateway to that, all because I'm like breathing in and out doesn't mean that it's going to solve my addiction to such and such, or like I'm not going to clench my teeth. But what breathing does is it creates that moment of pause, and then gives your mind a break where you can readjust that pattern, and start the process of unlearning. And there's like again just so much, like I think it's like mainstream knowledge almost, that 21 days is the amount of time to build a habit. And there's like different variations of it, like a week or two to break a habit, and 21 days to like build a habit. But in any sense, like it takes time to build a habit. And so breathing is a tool to focus that practice, and to alter and change the stress response. And I like this because Benson had stated, and the genes were changing. The genes we're changing were the very genes acting in the opposite fashion when people are under stress. So it's just literally the word opposite, I think of reverse. And so just like reversing our bad patterns. There is so much spiritual background on breathing. Like like in Christianity, like God breathing into man, like even symbolic things, or the concept of a unified breath. In yoga, it's called pranayama, which means like a vehicle, and for enlightenment. And so there's a lot of different strands. I'm sure you may know one as well. Again, I'm no expert. I just am sharing what I learned from my experience. But I did find that what's interesting is that there's a common practice of breathing and meditation in most religions. And again, like the breath is a medium. And it's like almost like a portal to find a pause and to reconnect with a higher spiritual being, or a deity or God. But yeah, again, I'm not an expert in this, but I just wanted to share that observation. Cool. So 2 types of breathing. This is from the breathing book. And we're going to close off with this last concept. So there's the first type, and it's inquiry of the breath, and the second type is untying the breath. And in the middle, you find your natural breath. So first, a type of breathing is just to notice the breath, and then it's to actually work on your breathing pattern. And as you oscillate between inquiring the breath and untying the breath, inquiring the breath and untying the breath, and you're working intensely on the two ends of the spectrum, this book was saying that eventually, like, that practice will lead you to really pinpoint your natural breathing, which is the middle. And so what the inquiry of the breath is, it's developing breath perception. And a question that essentializes this is, how am I breathing? So bringing attention to the quality of your breath, not controlling your breath, just noticing. You probably don't want to do this if you're hyperventilating, or you're breathing very low and your blood pressure is dropping. Maybe a quick inquiry, but you probably don't want to sit and watch yourself like panic. But it is a strategy to use to observe your breath. And a way that you could determine the quality is the first, like, location of your breath. Where is your breathing most noticeable? So not like in your foot, but like in your chest or in your belly, in your upper belly. Of course, like, your lungs are located like in the middle, or, this upper area. But sometimes we can, when we inhale, we're inflating into our lower belly, or, and we're breathing lower. So just location is kind of metaphorical of whereabouts in the body is your breath inflating and deflating. The origin of breath, this is also very interesting because, again, it's our lungs, but it's more so used metaphorically. So where does the movement of the body begin? There really is no beginning and ending, but maybe you feel your breath a lot in here, beginning in your chest. And same thing in your lower belly, just finding an awareness and attention to that. Frequency is a bit more literal, like, how fast are you breathing? How slow are you breathing? The length of your inhale and exhale is also very interesting, because when you breathe in longer spans, like, that does drop your heart rate. And so, if you're breathing in short, quick breaths, that can increase your heart rate. And then texture, smooth, jerky, uneven. I noticed this especially with like wearing masks nowadays. I have an uneven breath where I have to like kind of take 2 breaths in almost to get a full breath of air during class, because I'm constantly like talking with students, my mask is on. So that would be the texture. And the depth is also metaphorical, but meaning, again, like, are you breathing high, shallow, or deep, low into your belly, or shallow breaths are like, you're not really exhaling, you're just inhaling. And deep is like you're exhaling more, and it's more of a deeper depth of breath. So that's just the inquiry, like things that you can use to notice your breathing. And it's a helpful practice. Like, I actually do this with our students as a form of meditation. Like, for 3 minutes, I'll just be like, just notice your breathing. What does it feel like? How am I breathing? And it's a good self check-in to do as well throughout the day. So untying breath is very different from noticing, but they're connected. It's using various breathing patterns to reprogram the breath. And 2 I can think of is breath suspension, which is holding your breath, is a way to reprogram, because when you're breathing, and you exhale, it kind of does this switch up in your breathing pattern, and you can find a new flow of breathing. And also high and low breathing. So taking really high breaths up and exhaling everything out. That's a high-low breathing. And that also helps untie the breath. So for example, if you were breathing, like as I shared with you, I breathe with uneven texture throughout the day, and I were to do a little breath suspension and inhale in a high breath and I breathe everything out, just helps me reprogram to find my natural breath. The untying of breath, it's there, we do have like these innate strategies that we use, but it is helpful to learn a few to prepare, I mean, not prepare, but to know when and what to do. And there's a lot of different strategies. So I did provide a strategy, like some lists of strategies. Oops. Here, and they have gifts, and if you have like young children, or if you, like for me working with students, I like to use these different exercises as visuals. Also sometimes it's helpful to have visual, I mean, I like to close my eyes, but that may not be comfortable for some people, and this is a good way for starters, just to help visualize like the power of breathing. Oops. This one as well, just breathing in as the spirals go. It's for Monday. We do this on Monday. They need one for Friday, which is in 2 days, or they need one for Wednesday. And this is breath suspension. So you breathe out and then breathe in, and then you hold your breath. And then there's these little cute ones. These ones, this is high-low breathing. This is breath suspension, holding your breath for 7 seconds, breathing out. This is just really nice to see the circle just expand out and spiral out. Yeah, and there's a lot of YouTube videos too that you can find, but I wanted just to provide that because it's a really great resource. And yeah, I was also going to lead us into one of my favorite breath counts, where you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold your breath for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 4 seconds, and then you hold your breath for 4 seconds. So if you all don't mind, I would love to guide you in this breathing, and then we can move on to questions and conversations. Cool. Okay. So I can't see the screen, but I'm just going to go ahead and just guide you through. So the first, meditating in chairs, what's helpful is to scoot your chair back if you want to follow along, and sit at the edge of the seat so that both feet are planted onto the ground. Yeah.
We can't see you.
Oh, okay. Oh, but would you rather look at the screen or would you rather look at me?
Oh, it's up to you how you want to do it, but if you were demonstrating, we couldn't see you.
Okay. Well, you can't really, okay, okay. You can't really see me now, but I could just narrate for you. So I'm sitting at the edge of my chair. So you would just sit at the edge of your chair, like, I wonder if I can go back here. You guys can see how also, let's see. Okay, so. Okay, so you would just sit at the edge of your seat and both feet are planted to the ground. And you want to rest your hands on the top of your knees. And one way I like to relax my shoulders is just roll them really big up to my ears, roll them back, just big circles backwards, big circles forward. Go and lean your head to the left, lean your head to the right, just roll it out. And you're doing all this to relax your body, to prepare your body and be like, okay, I know you're tense, let me just relax so that I can meditate. Okay, and now once you feel a little bit better, slowly just lift. Imagine a string at the crown of your head being lifted up, so you're elongating the spine. Roll the shoulders back and down. And begin to, if you'd like, to close your eyes. Slightly tuck your chin. Relax your jaw. Relax your face. A lot of times, I know for some reason, my tongue is stuck to the roof of my mouth. It's really weird. But if that is you, just peel the tongue off the roof of your mouth and allow it to sit in your mouth, relaxing your tongue. And relaxing your jaw a little bit more. Maybe focusing on where your molars are and relaxing the back of your jaw, the back of your tongue. If you're slightly squinting or frowning, just smooth out your eyes. Release any tension in the corner of your eyes or the middle of your brow. If your fingers are pressed tightly onto your knees, just relax your fingers, relax your toes. And we're going to inquire the breath. Just notice how you're breathing. Breathing in and out the nose. Notice the way the air feels as you breathe in through your nostrils and out. Notice the consistency of your breath, how high you're breathing and how low you're breathing. Try not to control your breath, but allow it to move in the way where you can get just enough oxygen as you need. Notice if you're breathing into your chest or into your belly. If you found your shoulders slouching again, just elongate the spine. Roll the shoulders back. And we'll begin to untie the breath with our 4-count breath series using breath suspension. So I first like to find a unified breath. So we're all breathing in different patterns right now. And so we'll all do one baby breath together and we'll start the suspension. So wherever you are, just go and exhale out and take a deep breath in. Keeping the mouth closed, exhale out the nose, and we'll begin. Inhale in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Now hold the breath for 4, 3, 2, 1. Now exhale out the nose. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold the breath. Inhale into the nose. Hold the breath. Exhale out the nose. Hold the breath. Inhale in the nose. Hold the breath. Exhale out the nose. Hold the breath. We'll do one more. Inhale into the nose. Hold the breath. And exhale everything out. And once you breathe out your last bit of air, just find your natural breath. Breathing in and out the nose. Notice the quality of your breath and how it's changed since the beginning. Notice the quality of your thoughts. Maybe you feel a little bit more focused, a bit more relaxed, more clear-headed. And give yourself thanks and honor for allowing you to have some time to focus on yourself and most importantly, your breathing. Now, when you're ready, blink open the eyes. And that is a sample of the inquiry of breath and untying the breath. Yes. Oh, and yeah, I'm here for questions. I do have some questions if you, well, I guess we'll just start if anyone has questions or comments, experiences.
I'm gonna go ahead and start. You had mentioned Taoism and Confucianism. That's spirituality. Could you speak a little bit about both of those, Taoism and Confucianism?
Yes, so Taoism is it is, I wanted to look up something because there's like steps. Taoism is they're both like, I'm still learning much about them, but Taoism is a religious belief of kind of like the movement of energy. And the way that I've been learning through it is through the symbol of yin and yang, and how there is a symbol where half is black and half is white. And then there's a white circle within the black space and a white circle within the black space. And it's supposed to represent, in essence, harmony, but also the tensions and the subtle experiences and the subtle truths and the subtle contradictions that arise with finding that balance and harmony. And I know there's more to it, and there's other practices that are connected to Taoism, like Tai Chi is one of them, and that's the movement. That's the movement of your body to channel energy. And so yes, so it's just it's the philosophy and the religion around how ki energy moves. And then Confucianism is, it's interesting, like how it's sometimes thought of as a religion or a philosophy. I consider it more as a philosophy, but one second. Sorry, my brother had just came home from a long trip, and so the garage was going off as well. And Confucianism is an idea, a philosophy, or a religion that is supposed to guide a country or a nation in provide an ethical framework of community, focusing on relationships and family and civic duty. It's very like, I've learned things like respect, moral action, peace, even things like manners, politeness, are all aspects of Confucianism. And there's various virtues that you focus to build your character. And so, yes, but there's so much more to it that I'm not an expert. Some of you might know more in those areas than if you do. please feel free to share. But yes, like meditation is definitely a practice in noticing that energy level and flow.
Okay. Brother Mashinda, you there? Okay, Brother Hambrick.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I noticed, Brother Hambrick, when you came back to visit the school after you retired, and you were in like top physical shape, and you showed me where you were able to go down and touch the ground without bending your knees or anything, and you were able to get down there real far that I've never been able to get that far down. So were you practicing any principles of yoga when you got in that real great shape you were in? That was a few years ago.
No, I wasn't. But I just stretch. You know, I'm a former athlete, so you know, flexibility is just as important as strength and endurance. And so I used to always teach my players, if you want to prevent pulling muscles getting injured, you have to be flexible. The only way to do that is by stretching. So that's the reason I do that. But, you know, piggyback on what the Sister J Dub was saying, just like with breathing, I not only taught, history, I taught PE also, and was a football coach. So I had to teach kids how to breathe in order to maximize their ability to work out. For example, I used to tell them about, inhaling and exhaling through their mouth. That's how a dog, animal breathes. You got to inhale through your nostrils and you can exhale out of your nostrils also. But when you need a burst and you need to get the carbon dioxide out, like you inhale through your nostrils really strong and then blow it out your mouth to get it out, as fast as you can. You can do it again, like you're a sprinter or something like that. But I can definitely identify with what she was talking about the breathing, and I missed the part on Frantz Fanon. I have his Wretched of the Earth and Blackface, White Mask. I believe that's the title of the book. And when I finish, I like for her to go over that again if she doesn't mind, because I missed that part. I can listen to the tape. But anyway, breathing is, you have to breathe. That's the force. That's life. And I teach some people how to build up their respiratory system by, because I got Pompey, Roscani. He was a kinesiology major, so a lot of this stuff I learned from him. But taking a deep breath, as deep as you can, and make a little bitty hole with your lips, and blow that oxygen through that little bitty hole until it's all the way out. And that's another thing I learned from him. But over the years, then another thing, like if you're racing and you're getting ready to race, and at the start, the way to get a quick start is to exhale off the gun. Instead of breathing in, breathe out as you're coming out of the blocks. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing I learned. But I do know this, that Taoism and Confucius is a lot older than the Christianity thing and a lot more highly ethical. Those religions, if you want to call them spiritual ways or what have you, that's what the values and the character that she was talking about within those two. That's how our Judeo-Christian thing is supposed to be, but they always end up being the least of those values. And we find that the religions and spiritual practices that come from the East are more to the word and more ethical and more, just, the way nature is. Just getting along, being civil, being highly ethical, being honest, all of these things, but we're under some stuff that enslaves people, and they want to call themselves highly ethical and all that. But all of them are just to deify your culture where you are. And that's what they were, a bunch of gangsters and thugs and, raping land for resources, enslaving people. But, you had some of that back east, but I don't believe they were Taos. I don't think Attila the Hun was into any, Eastern religious things. But and the movement, like the Tai Chi she mentioned, those things. The thing is to be at one with nature, okay, and therefore one with the universe. That black and white thing that she was talking about, the yin and the yang. That's what me and my wife call each other. I'm one and she's the other. We're not the same. But it's been working out for 33 years, and it has its issues also. But I would say, and a lot of the ladies that see me stressed, they tell me, like, you ought to be in a yoga class. And I've never been able to find one. And I know, the things I be watching the movements that they do and how they sit and one palm of your foot against your thigh and all that. See, I'm knock-kneed and pigeon-toed too, so I see myself, it would be very difficult for me. I can stretch now, but getting into all that other stuff, I don't know about that. They'd have to show me because I've always been like I am, pigeon-toed, knock-kneed, but I'm fast too. But anyway, I'm gonna end it here, and hopefully the sister can explain a little bit about Frantz Fanon that I missed, if she wouldn't mind.
Yeah, she can revisit.
Yeah, I haven't read the full book where I found that, but I did find that quote in an article. And I really liked that and the connection. And so thank you for pointing that out. Like, he has a full library of like decolonizing work. But this is the quote. It reads, there is not occupation of territory on the one hand and independence of persons on the other. It is the country as a whole, its history, its daily pulsation that are contested, disfigured. Under these conditions, the individual's breathing is an observed and occupied breathing. It is a combat breathing. And so I had just made the statement of colonization, to breathing patterns of the colonized, and how, I think his word choice of like combat breathing is very much aligned to his former works, especially against like the revolution or the rebellion of Algeria, and to fight. So every breathing is like fighting. I read it as every breathing is fighting the occupation of our personhood, our bodies, but also our land. And so, and this was from an indigenous pedagogy for decolonization. So yeah, if you have thoughts on that, I would love to hear. Also type it into the chat.
Okay, Brother Hambrick, any response on that?
I was muted. I'm sorry. I think you know I could do that because my dog be barking every time. What book is that from on France Fanon?
I can look it up. I got it from an article.
Is it Pedagogy of the Oppressed?
Um,
Or is it Black Mass, White Faces or something like that? One of the two.
it was a book written in 1965. It was from an article in
Okay.
Indigenous Pedagogy for Decolonization, but let me see where the actual quote was from.
Brother Mashinda, are you there? Brother Mashinda?
He's muted.
Yeah, no, but he may have stepped out.
Anyway, I'll try to. I think I have both of those books, Sister J Dub. So you don't have to spend a lot of time digging. I don't know if he wrote more than those two. And even
Oh, it's called a dying it's called A Dying Colonialism.
which colonialism is alive and well. I got something yesterday from somebody about what Putin was saying about Africans and how the African can never be independent on his own because he looks at Caucasians like they're semi-gods. And he talks about how their thought process, they'll take something from a Caucasian, and when they get all their money, they don't have it in African banks, they got it in European Swiss banks. And when they send their kids to college, they send them to Europe instead of African universities. So the only thing that these heads of state of Africa will do is once they die, they want them buried back in Africa. And so the response I sent to the brother who sent it to me was two cuts by Gil Scott Heron and Brian Jackson, the Midnight Band. One was "Ain't No Such Thing as a Superman." I don't know if you're familiar with that. I know Brother Frascani ought to be. But anyway.
Is that which one? That's Gil Scott?
Scott.
I may have heard it, but I heard a few cuts by Gil Scott.
He was on the Nile. You went to see great Egypt fall, fell down to the ground. And you what did you say? Wow. You can Google it. Just Google it. Google "Ain't No Such Thing as a Superman" is what he's saying. In order for us to get it together, we got to realize that it ain't no such thing as a Superman. Talking about this European. Then the other cut I sent was "Must Be Something We Can Do" by the same group, but it's off the same album. Gil Scott Heron and Brian Jackson.
Well, or they had an album together, or was it either the musician was Brian Jackson?
One with the gorilla sitting in the chair on the front.
I think I've seen that before.
The second one was "There Must Be Something We Can Do."
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
And so that was a response that I sent. I want to stop quoting. I want to stop talking, but I want to quote the president of Ukraine with something he said was profound the other day. When Bush and them were trying to get him out of the country, he said, "We'll fly you out," and this and that. He's like, "I don't want no ride. I want some ammunition."
Yeah, I think I heard that. Yeah.
I'm teaching history right now, boy. Kids up with this information. But anyway, they're just trying to. And what do you teach again, Sister Jada?
I teach English.
All right. Well, I was a history teacher there for a few years, administrator. Mr. Rascani, did you check out my mural? Is it still intact on the 40s row wall there?
Wait, what's
40.
your mural?
Huh?
What does your mural look like?
It's on the 40s road where the building burned down and it's all grass. It's on that wall, that brick wall, the part that burned.
But what does the colors look like?
It has the Egyptian pyramid and the African pyramid with a black hand coming out and a brown hand coming out, and they're embracing. And then I have heroines from the Egyptian side and the Native American side on the same side.
In the 40s? Oh, that's the other side.
As you come out the
Yes,
main,
that's by the science building, right?
I'll tell you exactly. If you come out the main office, walking east, you get down to the walkway there, make a left. The first opening, make a right. And it's right on that wall on the left right there. Because you got buildings in a row, and you got one row where it's not a building. It's on that wall.
I think I know
I
what you're talking about.
think it's still there. I'm gonna
Yeah.
look, because I thought about it the other day, but I didn't go down there. But I'll check it out. I think it's still there. I know what you're talking about. I've seen it.
I think it's still there too. It's like where the quad grass area is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think I've seen it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Check it out. And then also the one on the front we did, I passed it the other day, looked like it's peeling off. The one that's on Central. Right as you come in the gate there.
Yeah, that one. Wow, you did that one too? Wow, you should do more.
Well, they kind of. No, I'm done. But I wouldn't mind coming speaking sometime. But
Yeah, that would be amazing to speak on the murals. Like that would be amazing.
We can arrange that.
Yeah.
We can arrange that. As soon as they lift these mandates, we can make an arrangement for you to do that.
Back when I did that, was a lot of racial tension between the blacks and the browns on campus. They were fighting like crazy, and so I had this painter guy who you ever been to that's kind of I know you have. You ever been to Cliffs right there across from Compton High?
Yep.
You see that painting on the wall of South America? It's right there as you stand by the window to the right where the seating is, and they got a little canopy there. It's a painting there of South America, Central America. The guy that did that is the same guy that did the paintings at CEN.
Okay, I know where you're talking about. I just don't remember the picture. I know exactly where you're talking about.
Well, that's what I did when I was there. As a matter of fact, I had that pyramid thing in my room when I was teaching history. And so when I had it put outside, I had that different heroines. Like it's an Olmec head up there. You know what the Olmec head is, right?
Yeah.
That's on the Egyptian side. I got a picture of Tahuti or Thoth, who was described during the dynastic period. He's over there. I think King is over there. On the other side, on the Aztec pyramid side, I got Quetzalcoatl and some other people like that on that side. I think Cesar Chavez, from what I remember. Yeah, that's what I was doing when I was there working, trying to put down the truth. And the kids really got into it. I tell you, I left a whole series of books in the library because I used to sell hot links, and I had a book club, African American book club, and I would buy all these books and have the kids read them. And so when they moved me from the campus, I put them all in the library, and I called it the John Henry Clark Collection. Must have been about 30, 40 books. The kids stole all of them.
Oh God.
One, the librarian lady is gone. The one that was there when I started it. It was a black lady. I can't remember her name.
I know exactly who you're talking about. She was she was a character.
But
Yeah.
the only book they left was by John Henry Clark. It was called Africa at the Cross. No, Africa at the Crossroads. It went over Malcolm, King, Patrice Lumumba, and somebody else. That was the only one they left. So, but anyway, And I was waiting on Mr. Higgins. Mr. Higgins said he was inviting me to speak this past month, but I never heard from him.
Yeah, they probably because of these mandates and stuff. Yeah, but we definitely gonna get you to come up there as soon as this stuff lifts, so we can grab a bunch of students and we could do a campus tour of the murals. That'll be excellent.
All right. Thanks for your presentation, sister. I know that's an area that's needed because most time when we're breathing, it's like stress, and stress will kill you just as quick as anything else. So, and let me say what my favorite movie is, where all this comes into play. I used to rush home from work to watch it. Kung Fu. David Carradine. That was my show. I love that.
Yep, Kung
Have to
Fu.
rewatch. I'll have to watch that.
I got the whole series. My family bought year 1, year 2, and you asked Emprey what my favorite show was, Scotty. I bet he'd tell you Kung Fu.
I'm gonna ask him too.
Oh wow. Okay. This is good.
You know, they don't show it on TV no more. I got a buddy that works for television stations. And I was, man, how come you guys don't have Kung Fu on anymore?
You have to watch it on Apple TV.
Apple? Okay. I don't technology is by me. So. What is Apple TV?
It's with the Apple app, and you have to subscribe. Or rent it with them. It's a part of their whole.
Well, I got all the movies, the shows anyway for like 3 years. So I just watched those.
Well, Miss J Dub, any last, but you know what? I have one more question for you. Now, when I go on YouTube, I see a great amount of ladies doing yoga. Do they, is it a focus more on women to do yoga, or what? Where does the men come in? I mean, do you know of because I know it's not gender based, but I don't see men doing yoga online versus I see women doing it. I guess maybe because I would have to look it up, but I haven't seen any videos that's men related.
Yeah, it's really interesting because even at a studio, I get a mix of men and women instructors.
Okay.
Yeah, and even when trainings, it was mostly women, but there were always a few men. So yeah, maybe it's like
more women get into yoga than men, you think?
Maybe more women want to like be on YouTube because and in general, I would say like in Western, in California and America, I've seen mostly women.
Okay.
See a lot of men do the Tai Chi though.
Yeah, like the grandpas and.
Is that like is just movement? Tai Chi is movement?
Yeah. Like a sequence of movements to channel like your body's energy with the universal energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's been nice. It's a nice presentation there. Okay, so I appreciate you coming back on. Appreciate you being on the team. Looking forward to you coming more. Coming on again, and then also I'm looking forward to some collaborations on the website where we can develop more things. And I had an idea for you and Brother Hambrick. We can kind of start a CEN yoga and meditation program. So, get people involved in the good breathing, the good stretching, the meditation. So that's something that I want to challenge you to come up with a program for the website. But that's a good thing. Okay, so I appreciate you coming on, Brother Hambrick, adding to the to the yoga and meditation presentation here this evening. And next week, we got Sandra Rogers coming on again. She had an excellent first show with us. And I spoke with her, and she's going to probably talk about some more medical things. You know, she's a supervisor with public health investigation. So that's going to be interesting. Her first presentation 8 months ago was excellent. So I'm looking forward to that. So we're going to end, and I'm going to say Conscious Corner and each one teach one. The CEN show. Good evening.
Good evening.